All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Sports Insanity Network NFL recap show for week 7. The old ops guy, like with the old ops guy, happy Tuesday. How are you?
Always feeling good after a Dallas win. How are you?
Well, I have incompetence with my team, but we'll dive into that later.
You have incompetence or you have incontinent?
Incompetence. This is why no one trusts fish. This is why Aquaman is the lamest superhero there is. Uh, we do have a little bit of news. We'll start with that out of Tennessee. Um, Wide receiver Tyler Lockett requested and has been granted his release from the Tennessee Titans. So Tyler Lockett will be free to sign with another team. I believe starting tomorrow at 4 o'clock is when that could occur.
And there are a few teams I can see him going to, but there should only be one team that he does go to. He should return to Seattle, finish out his career there, and retire.
You know, that's actually not a bad idea. JSN, Cooper Cup, Tyler Lockett give Sam Darnold a lot of weapons. Um, I mean, San Francisco could use another receiver for
Yep.
sure.
The Giants could definitely use him.
The Giants could use it, but here's the problem with the Giants. Do you think you're in contention enough to grab a guy like this?
Fair point. If they would have, we'll get into it. I'm not gonna spoil it for everybody there.
Uh, to be a fly on the wall of SIP yesterday after the Giant loss.
Oh, just Bill, we let Bill go on a little rant yesterday. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. So Tyler Lockett has requested and has been granted his release. We will probably have an update on where he'll go Sunday for the Sunday Sideline Report right here on the SA and YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Check it out. I want to start though our recap with one of the games from last night because again, for some reason, they decided to give us a Monday night doubleheader. No one's going to complain about that. The first game, which could have been a standalone game, had two NFC powerhouses, and one really flexed their muscle as the Detroit Lions beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a score of 24-9. Jared Goff, 20 of 29, 241 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Jahmyr Gibbs, 17 carries, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. The Lions for the Bucs, Baker Mayfield, 28 of 50, 228, a touchdown, and a pick. And outside of that, the Buccaneers could not muster a lot. Baker was also sacked 4 times. But Mark, the story of this game wasn't Jared Goff and the Lion offense. It wasn't even the great uniforms the Lions were wearing last night.
They actually were nice.
It was the Lions defense that was the story of this game. Shout out LSU legend Kelvin Shepherd.
What I said in the article that I had given Mike in the pregame for last week was the fact that the Lions' offense is like a few teams' offense. It's good to go. There is no tweaking it. There is no extra additions needed. However, like a few other teams, their defense, mainly their secondary, has been so weak and allowing so many touchdowns and so many other points that it didn't matter that the offense was doing well. Mike hit it right on the head. The defense stepped up and stopped probably the hottest team in football in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The bigger story for the Buccaneers is they're right back where they started with no Chris Godwin, and now most likely Mike Evans will miss the next 8 to 12 weeks with a broken collarbone.
Todd
and
Bowles said most likely the rest of the regular season, or most of
and
the rest.
he could be back for the playoffs, but let's face it, hats off to Mike Evans on a fantastic career. But it's if you're not coming back for the playoffs, it's time to call it.
11 straight years of 1,000 yards, and so that streak is going to get broken.
Right.
But
He's accomplished a lot as a wide receiver for Tampa Bay. He's been reliable. He'll go down easy Hall of Fame candidate. Um, just you have to know when it's time. And unfortunately, yeah, the hamstring hindered him for the first few games. But now you got a severe injury in which is costing you the rest of the regular season. So
yeah, so now maybe Tampa Bay goes out there and looks for a receiver. They do eventually.
hey, we just were talking about Tyler Lockett. So
Yeah,
hey,
Chris Godwin, Emeka Buka, who's had a really great rookie year.
yep,
But look, take nothing away from the Bucks. They've been the hottest team in football for the last number of
yeah.
weeks. The Lions deserve a lot of credit. After a week after the Chiefs lit them up, they held this Bucks offense to 9 points. Baker couldn't get anything going offensively. There was always somebody in his face. The run game wasn't there for Tampa Bay either. But
No,
man, oh man, what a job by the Lions defense.
yep.
And in an NFC this year where there is no dominant team, there in neither conference there is a dominant team. But the NFC, Philly's really good when they're on. Tampa Bay's really good. The Lions are right there with those teams. The Packers, whoever else you might want to throw, the Niners, the Rams, the NFC. If we see any of these teams playing in the Super Bowl, we're not going to be surprised. But if the Lions defense can play like that on a weekly basis, the Detroit
Mhm.
Lions would be going to the Super Bowl.
One thing we pointed out is that Tampa Bay line has been very good for Baker Mayfield, and
Yeah.
through the first 6 games had only given up 10 sacks. They gave up 4 sacks in this game, and that's almost half of what he had already. This was a complete breakdown for the Tampa Bay line. It's time to just regroup, put this one behind you, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, Tampa Bay will travel to New Orleans. They'll play the Saints this week. So there's a
It's a nice tune-up game for Tampa Bay.
get right game. The Lions will be on the bye week, so
Correct.
pretty good note for the Lions to be on the bye week. So that was one of the 2 games on Monday night. The other one saw the Seattle Seahawks beat the Houston Texans by a score of 27-19. Seattle goes to 5-2, Houston to 2-4. And Sam Darnold, just another day at the office, 17 of 31, 213, a touchdown and a pick. Jackson Smith-Njigba goes for another 100 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches. And the Seattle Seahawks keep doing their thing. There are 3 teams in the NFC West at 5-2.
And with good reason. With good reason. This Seattle team, I gave it a lot of criticism when it was Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold has come out and played all pro football. But again, when you lose a DK Metcalf and then you've lost Tyler Lockett, for Njigba to step up the way he has and churn out the numbers he's been doing week by week by week, not only just for the state of fantasy players, it's given Sam Darnold probably the best wide receiver connection he's had as a quarterback in the NFL.
And what he's done, Sam Darnold, is he went from this guy who was, well, let's be brutally honest here. It's similar to Baker Mayfield in the sense of they were top 5 picks. They were both labeled as busts. They both wound up with the Panthers. They leave Carolina to go be a backup somewhere, and that resurrected their career. Baker with the Rams, Sam Darnold in San Francisco, and then Minnesota, and we see what Baker's become, and Sam Darnold has become a reliable, very good quarterback. It's not going to be the flashiest, but he doesn't have to be flashy.
Correct.
And that's not even the best thing about Seattle right now. We could talk about how good Sam Darnold is. We could talk about how great Jackson Smith and Jigba is. The Seattle Seahawks defense also looks like, I'm not going to say they're Legion of Boom days,
right?
They're playing at a high level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, throw Seattle in that ring, too, of NFC contenders. For Houston, they go to 2-4. And look, at some point, the Texans, I still need to know what the Texans are. Because the 2 weeks prior to their bye week, they beat up the Titans and they beat up the Ravens. Well, the Raven defense we know stinks, and the Titans are not good. So, are you more of the team that just beats up on bad teams, or are you better than that, Houston? We're gonna find out.
And unfortunately, Houston lost Nico Collins last night to a concussion. He'll be in concussion protocol this week, so we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll let you know as we get more info on that. But there was really no positives except for Kenny Lassiter, who had a nice night on defense. Stroud threw basically 50% of his passes for 229 yards. And mind you, Dalton Schultz finally showed up for the first time in his contract as signing with Houston with 9 for 98. That's because there was nobody else really to throw to. So,
Yeah, that's just a problem. They got nobody else to throw to, and the line can't protect Stroud, and
not at all.
He's turning the ball over. It's not good.
Not a good look in Houston.
It is not a good look in Houston. Ironically enough, though, DeMeco Ryans will see a familiar face on Sunday. The Texans will host the Niners.
Yes.
So the Niners, who are coming off a nice Sunday night win over the Atlanta Falcons 20-10. And it was all because of two things: defense and this Christian McCaffrey guy who's pretty good.
McCaffrey went off on a great night, not only just in the rushing area, but in the receiving area as well. 129 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then another 72 in the air. Brings you back to his starting time with the Carolina Panthers when he used to go off on that as an average week, But this was a nice to see how healthy he was.
And look, the Niners need this kind of performance out of McCaffrey because you want to talk about banged up at the receiver position. It's the Niners. Brandon Ayuk still hasn't played this year.
Correct. That's the biggest. That's their number one, technically.
Yeah. Ricky Pearsall missed this game, former number 1 pick. Kittle just came back from a hamstring, so I'm sure he was a little bit limited in what he could do. Jawan Jennings said a couple of weeks ago he's playing with 5 broken ribs. which I think is insane. The Niners just don't have the weaponry. Oh, by the way, Brock Purdy wasn't playing on Sunday.
No, this was Mac Jones's worst performance so far this season.
And by the way, Mac Jones, all he has to do is be a game manager. He doesn't have to throw the ball 40, 50 times and win the games for you. But when
Right.
McCaffrey does this, that's what changes the whole complexion of the Niners.
Mm-hmm. And they need McCaffrey like this.
And they need their defense like this. Listen, I know they're down Fred Warner for the rest of the year. Bryce Huff, nice of you to show up. They're going to need another guy off the edge because apparently he tweaked a hamstring or something. Can I intrigue you in a guy named Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips? But that's a whole nother conversation. The San Francisco 49ers are back. And if they can get Ayuk and Pearsall back, with McCaffrey being what he is, on top of what this defense could potentially give them with Robert Saleh, the Niners are as dangerous of a team in the NFC as anybody else. And for Atlanta, look, Bijan has played really well. Drake London's really good. Still waiting on a Kyle Pitts moment. But Atlanta feels to me, Mark, they're like a notch below.
Over the last few weeks, it's all been Bijan, Bijan, Bijan. I mean, he's had a great start to this season. They looked flat last night. It was just like they could not get anything going. Penix didn't have a horrible night, 21 to 38, 241, and a touchdown. That's not a horrible night. It's just you're throwing for that many yards. You got to have more touch. There should be more touchdowns on the board. Um, it was just an off night for Atlanta, putting them at 3-3. I mean, they're not out of it by any means. There's still a lot to go, but they needed this win.
And Penix apparently suffered a bone bruise. And we'll see what happens. But hey, you want to rest him for a week. You have a guy named Kirk Cousins.
Exactly.
And as much as people dislike Kirk Cousins, he's a
Exactly.
very capable quarterback. I like the fact that you rose your hand for that because
Oh, you know my dislike for him.
if you know me, I'm the president of the Kirk Cousins fan club. Listen, you want average quarterback play? I'll give it to you, Kirk Cousins. You want an average ball player? I'll love that average ball player. All right, so the Niners will go play the Texans. The Falcons will host. Let's just say they'll host fish out of water. I like the smile. And then
I'm trying to be nice. Trying to be nice.
you can say what you want. They've won one game. They
But just
suck.
remember,
We'll get into it.
they're not the worst in the league, though.
Ironically enough, they are not the worst in the league. They're not even the worst of their own division. That's saying something.
Speaking of the worst in the division, let's take a look at the Carolina Jet game.
If you guys want a great game to talk about, the Panthers and the Jets.
Oh,
The Panthers go into MetLife Stadium. They beat the Jets by a score of 13-6. Carolina's now 4-3.
shockingly, the first time Bryce Young has won 3 straight games in his career
since Alabama.
Yeah, and the Jets are now 0-7.
The only touchdown was a 3-yard touchdown pass from Bryce Young to Xavier Legette. Young was 15 of 25 for 138 yards and a touchdown. Mark's guy Rico Dowdle at 79 yards rushing on 17 carries.
And that's with Chuba Hubbard coming back. So that says something.
Leggett had 92 yards receiving on 9 catches and a touchdown. For the Jets, Tyrod Taylor came into this game after halftime. He was 10 of 22, 126 yards and 2 picks. Breece Hall had 38 yards rushing on 11 carries. And Tyler Johnson, 3 catches for 60 yards. As Mark mentioned, the Jets are 0-7. Let's start there. Let's start with the Jets, because I think what a lot of people are curious about is last week in London, or 2 weeks ago in London, everything was cool with Justin Fields. They weren't pulling him. They weren't doing this. But yet this week, you're pulling him after halftime for Tyrod Taylor. I don't think it doesn't make sense.
Eventually, it comes time you have to send a message, you know. I mean, I had a lot of hope for Justin Fields. I really did because I like him. You can choose to trade away players like Brees Hall and maybe Sauce Gardner, get a couple of second and third round picks, maybe, yeah, and for Brees Hall might be more of a third and a fourth. Acquire some picks and rebuild for next year. Signing these guys to their 5th-year installments, all but Garrett Wilson, he's the one you keep. There's, in my eyes right now, there is no reason to sign them to their 5th-year options.
Well, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner got new deals.
That I knew about Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry I did not know about Sauce
Yeah,
Gardner.
Sauce got a 4-year deal. The one guy who didn't get a new deal was Brees Hall. And
Okay.
he's the guy who kind of needed one the most because, well, he was a third round pick, so he's a free agent after the season anyway.
That's why you trade him now and get
And
what you
he
can.
will get traded. And I've got a couple of spots for him. One of them may include a team that won 31-0 on Sunday.
Oh, that's definitely one spot
You know,
with the
but
Kansas City Chiefs.
Brees Hall's going to go somewhere. Here's my thing on the whole Justin Fields thing. I get it. He hasn't played well. But I also know what Justin Fields isn't. And what Justin Fields isn't is a guy who should be dropping back 50 times in a game and slinging the ball around. That's not his game. That never was his game. His game is I should be throwing the ball 20, 25, maybe 30 times at most, and I should be able to use my legs. But here's the problem the Jets need to realize, and this is where Aaron Glenn needs to become like Michael Jackson and look at the man in the mirror. The Jets don't have any freaking receivers. Garrett Wilson doesn't play on Sunday because he hyperextended his knee. Who's catching footballs? You know, I could have gotten a call for the Jets to play receiver Sunday. That could have happened. But no, we're expecting this guy to go out there and complete passes when he's got nobody to throw to. You drafted Mason Taylor in the second round. Hey, guess what, geniuses? Use him as a receiver. This isn't just a failure on Justin Fields. This is a failure on an organization for failing to put a quarterback in a spot where he could do well. I loved the fact that Justin Fields was going to get the opportunity this season. But they didn't help him because they didn't get him any help.
And, you know, Justin Fields is a free agent after this year. He'll end up somewhere. He's not done in this league. He's got time.
Are you kidding? Justin Fields will be the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins next year.
Well, there definitely will be a vacancy.
And just to give the Panthers some love, they've won 3 in a row. I'm not saying they've beaten a murderer's row of teams, but they beat the Dolphins, Cowboys, and Jets. But give them credit. Bryce Young will not play this week. Andy
Due to the
Dalton
ankle
starting.
injury.
He hurt his ankle. But the Panthers will welcome the Buffalo Bills into town on Sunday, while the Jets will see an old friend, Joe Flacco.
There should be a statue erected to him at every stadium. This guy's 42 years old and outplaying better than 40% of the quarterbacks in this league.
Cincinnati, why did it take you so long to get a quarterback? But again, we covered Bengals Steelers on Sunday, so we're not going to do it here. Just to continue with the New York state of mind. Let's get into it.
Wow.
The Giants lose to the Denver Broncos by a score of 33-32. The Denver Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter to win this football game and go to 5-2.
They had Denver handpicked in this game from even before it started. And I'm sitting there and I'm at the third quarter and I'm like, it's 19-0. I'm like, I could not believe it. Obviously, I'm not watching this game. I'm watching the Dallas Cowboy game. We'll get to that soon. And my cousin's calling and calling, and I'm declining because I'm watching my game. And then I read the text. He said, "Dude, not Detroit, Denver's coming back." So I flip it on, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Holy crap!" And then the Giants go down the field and score, and I'm like, "Okay, that's it." I said, "Bo Nix isn't Aaron Rodgers. He's not Patrick Mahomes. No, what does he do? He just acts like him, gets them into field goal range with under 20 seconds to go, and wins the game." Well, no, he doesn't win the game. Kicker wins the game. Who do you give the most reward to here? Who deserves the biggest one? Does it go to Bo Nix? Does it go to Aaron Singleton, who had a great game? Does it go to J.K. Dobbins? Where do you go here?
I don't give Denver credit at all. And look, it's a great win. It's a great comeback win. This falls on the Giants. This whole freaking thing falls on the Giants. And there's only going to be one person. There's actually two guys who I'm going to name who are going to be singled out as they don't get the blame. I can't blame Jackson Dart. He played his ass off.
Played a great game.
And people are going to get mad at the interception he threw. I'm going to get into that in a second. And I can't get mad at Brian Burns. Another couple of sacks. And he's been, to quote the great Mr. Burns for The Simpsons, excellent. Look, Brian Daboll, that is as bad of a loss as you could have. Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, that's inexcusable. 33 points in the fourth quarter. We're not talking about a basketball game, but a football game. You gave up 33 in the fourth. And by the way, the Giants bailed you, or the referees bailed you out with a BS pass interference call in the end zone.
Yes.
I apologize for nothing, and we'll get into the referees too, because after this week, I got an issue with the zebra people. And then Jackson Dart sneaks it in. They gave you the lead back. And then in 2 plays, they're in field goal range, and the dude makes the field goal. And I'm going to butcher this name. Oh, Jude Academy. This dude missed multiple extra points. By the way,
Not to mention the 2-point conversion that didn't happen.
so I don't know how this guy can go into the to the facility today or yesterday, and I hope there's someone there telling him, "Hey, Jude, you're caught."
Look, I mean, we don't use. I mean, years ago, extra points were gimmies. Now they're not. But forget about the missed 2-point conversion. Those two missed extra points cost the Giants the game.
And here's the thing about the Giants: Graham Gano's hurt, so you had to elevate this guy. You signed Younghoe Koo from Atlanta. Why is he not your kicker at the moment?
That's another question.
Like, what?
I even forgot that the Giants had signed him.
That's like Brian Dable forgetting he used to have hair. I mean, this is ridiculous. And the Giants should be 3-4, getting ready to play Philadelphia this week. And if you get to 4-4, you're in the thick of this thing. Instead, you're 2-5. You're coming off of a brutal loss, and what could be the nail in the coffin, not just of your season, but of Brian Dable's career as
Mm-hmm.
coach.
And as I said, he was the coach I had panned who would have been first. Obviously, that's already happened, and we talked about that last week. But I'm very stern in belief he will not finish this year as the Giants head coach.
I mean, what happened on Sunday was a disaster. And quite frankly, the Giants should have changed some of the locks at the facility yesterday and today. The Giants are getting ready to go to Philadelphia. They'll play Philly. The Denver Broncos will host your Cowboys on Sunday.
Yep. And that's going to be a good game.
That should be an interesting game. I'll say this one, though. Bo Nix better play better than he did on Sunday, because he was not. Until the fourth quarter, he was not good.
First 3 quarters, yeah, as we pointed out, Denver did not put up anything until 33 points in the fourth. Against most teams, this would not have been a reachable comeback.
Yeah. Speaking of the Cowboys, they're coming off of a 44-22 beat down of the Commanders. Dak, another 264, 3-touchdown game. Javonte Williams went over 100 yards rushing. Welcome back CD Lamb into the lineup, 110 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in the loss for Washington. Bigger note is he left this game with a hamstring injury. We do not know the extent yet. Dan Quinn said yesterday he would know more later in the week.
He's going for an MRI today on the hamstring, so we'll probably hear as early as tonight, as late as tomorrow, on the status of Jaden Daniels.
And if he can't go, it'll be Marcus Mariota on Monday night in Kansas City.
This definitely was not a Bland win. Speaking of Bland, who took one back to the house on a dumb pass by Marcus Mariota. I mean, the ball should never have been thrown. Hats off to Dak Prescott. Again, another week with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Dak Prescott has been probably as good as Patrick Mahomes. The only thing it doesn't reflect are in the records right now. As the Cowboys got back to 500, as the Cowboys got back to 500 at 3-3-1, that tie is going to help out a lot coming into the second half, as Dallas will go into the bye week after they play whoever's after Denver. I can't think of whoever they play in 2 weeks, but I'll worry about it. But the Cowboys, I said this was going to be their turning point in the season. And I said this on Sunday's sideline. This was the Battle of Saratoga, and they took it. They didn't let up. They didn't slow down. As Mike pointed out, all the stats, they don't have to repeat them. For the first time since 2016 and 17, the Dallas Cowboys have a three-tiered threat with a passer, a runner, and wide receivers. Javonte Williams has been reborn. I'm not saying he's going to get 100 yards every week, but if he keeps on this pace, he's on a pace for 1,900 yards. That's not going to happen. But 1,500 yards for a Dallas Cowboys running back, that's possible. This offense is as good as, gonna say it, Mike, is as good as the Detroit offense. Its defense is the second worst in football, and that's the problem. However, they did show up against the Redskins, but sorry, against the Commanders, faux pas. But let's also point out one thing about the Commanders. They were kind of like the San Francisco 49ers. Not one starting wide receiver on the field. We'll give it up to Christian Moore and Lane, who had pretty decent days, but when it comes down to everything besides the Dallas win, it's going to be the status of Jaden Daniels and going forward.
I'm happy you mentioned the fact that the Commanders were down their top three receivers, because I know there are people out there going like, Cowboys are back and we're going to flex that muscle. This defense still gave up 22 points to a team that didn't have any receivers. And we could talk about DaRon Bland having a pick six. There was pressure in Jaden Daniels' face all day, which there was. And I'm going to give the Cowboys their credit for that. But let's also not neglect the fact that Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and Noah Brown didn't play. Because like the New York Jets, Mark and I could have played receiver for the Commanders on Sunday. And no
absolutely. And as of Friday night, they were expecting Terry McLaurin to be back. However, Sunday morning, he woke up and that quad was tight, and they made the decision that morning that he was not going to play. So, call it as you may, maybe they were more nervous that he was going to be the only guy out there and he was going to have a target on his back. And the last thing you want to do is another huge injury to Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, because they can't afford it. So
right. So they'll look to be healthier next week. But this was a big loss for the Washington Commanders. And a big win for the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to give this to Dan Quinn. Because even though the Commanders lost this game, they show fight every week. They don't quit until the zeros are up there. So I gotta give Dan Quinn that. But Dallas will go to Denver. Washington will be in KC. That's your Monday Night Football game next week.
And if Washington shows up with anything less than all starting three, this is a Chiefs win. And I have a feeling you will not see Jaden Daniels next Monday night.
I just want to check one thing before I get there.
That would be again. We've seen how Washington plays without Jaden Daniels, and
yeah. So Washington, no, they are still going to be playing. They don't have their bye. It looks like until week 12,
and that's
That's gonna
Look,
be a problem.
I'm a Dallas fan, but in all honesty, Mike and I are sports analysts, and we have opinions. There needs to be a double bye week. I don't care if you want to, if that extends the season even more. How can you ask a team, and this is a perfect example of a pure injured team at all levels, not to be able to have a second rest? I mean, and then look at it as the Chiefs proposal. You can't tell me you want Patrick Mahomes to have his bye week in week 7 and have to play 10 straight weeks without a break.
Yeah, it's it's brutal, but we'll see what happens there. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, well, they shut out the Raiders on Sunday by a score of 31-0. The Chiefs are now
4-3.
hold on. I just got a baseball alert, so I apologize for that.
Oh, I thought you.
No, no, no. So just switching sports here. We'll cover some batter up World Series preview. The Los Angeles Angels are hiring Kurt Suzuki, the former catcher, to be their manager.
How do you neglect if you're going to select a guy who was a player? Why not go get Pujols while it was all mentioned? I would have watched the Angels just to watch Pujols as the manager.
Yeah, so Kurt Suzuki will lead the Angels Rangers. More on batter up, which will probably be recorded at some point tomorrow. So the Chiefs go to 4-3, the Raiders to 2-5. Patrick Mahomes 26 of 35, 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco 57 yards rushing and a touchdown. Travis Kelce was the leading receiver, 3 catches, 54 yards. But welcome back to the lineup, Rashee Rice, who was
He was speeding in two styles.
suspended for 6 weeks, 7 catches, 42 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Rice in his return. For the Raiders, Geno Smith, 10 of 16, 67 yards. He got replaced by Kenny Pickett in this game, who was 2 of 2 at 8 yards.
And it was probably Pickett's last stand anyway.
Yeah, Ashton Genty, 6 catches, 6 carries, 21 yards. And Trey Tucker had 5 catches, 33 yards. I'm going to say this, and I want everyone to know this. The Kansas City Chiefs might be 4-3. The Kansas City Chiefs are the most dangerous team in football again.
I couldn't agree with you more.
They are 100% healthy on offense. Their defense is still really good. Oh, by the way, Patrick Mahomes.
Here we go. We talked about this, and we said it was a very unusual start. Everyone was worried. The start Casey had, we said this was unlike them. You get back a piece every week, and now you are at going into week 7 here, and you're at full strength. So what becomes more dangerous? Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce? Because let's face it, when there was no Rashee Rice, when there was no Xavier Worthy, they tried getting the ball to him, and it was a failed process. Now, over the last 2 weeks, he's been averaging 5 receptions on almost 65 yards. This team is probably the most dangerous team in football, and mind you, this was probably the worst loss for Pete Carroll in his career as a coach. The one thing that I did not like, and anybody can disagree with me, I don't give a shit. You had 3 timeouts, and you decided to kneel and walk out with your tail between your legs. No, you do anything you can to try to not have a goose egg up on that scoreboard.
I don't disagree with you on that. but I also think he knew they were getting their you know what's kicked. And it's just like, you know what? We're going to take this one. Here's the problem I have with the Raiders. You drafted Ashton Genty sixth overall. And I get it, the squirrel dictate his touches. 6 carries. Are we serious?
Even with the game blown out, I understand you got to throw the ball more, but Geno Smith threw the ball 16 times.
And that's another guy.
Uh,
I'm off. I'm off of Geno
well,
Smith.
the Geno look, Geno was great in Seattle. Well, I'm not
Yeah,
going to take away what he did in Seattle,
right.
but now he's showing how long he's been in the league.
And same with that, Mark. It's look, we get it. In Seattle, you had You brought it up earlier. You had DK. You had Lockett. At the end, you had Jay said. The Raiders don't have anything to throw to.
I mean, Trey Tucker's had a nice
Trey Tucker,
season.
Jacoby Myers is off being a lawyer for Jacoby and Jacoby somewhere. Brock Bowers has a bad knee. But at the end of the
And that's
day,
been a big loss for them. I mean, this Raiders offense. Losing him, yes.
at the end of the day, though, who, what strikes fear into you if you're playing the Raiders? Nothing. They need to figure out, and I hope their scouts are doing a good job. They need to figure out right now who is the quarterback of the future for the Raiders. Because they
And
haven't
for
had
the
a
Raiders,
franchise quarterback in God knows how long.
it's been a
If you
long
want to say
time.
Derek Carr, I'll take that, but
I mean, he would be the closest over the last decade at least. You're 2-5 going into the rest of the season. It's now you close your eyes and you picture next season's drafts. Next season's draft. If I'm the Raiders right now, and with the division I'm in, I'm saying we play out, but let's make sure we get a top 5 pick to grab one of those quarterbacks.
or you call Tom Brady to come down from the owner's box and have him play.
God help us.
At least I wouldn't have to hear him on the broadcasts anymore.
Oh, that would be a good change, yes.
All right. So let's finish up the AFC West with the Chargers, who got beat down by the Colts, 38-24. Uh, Daniel Jones, another solid performance, throwing for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, 94 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Alec Pierce, almost 100 yards receiving. Justin Herbert, 37 of 55 for 420 yards, blaze it, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Herbert was also the leading rusher, 31 yards rushing on 6 carries. And Oronde Gadsden, 7 catches, 164 yards, and a touchdown. The Colts are now 6-1, while the Chargers fall to 4-3 and have lost 3 of their last 4.
By the way, I've been having my slice of humble pie every week because Daniel Jones keeps making me eat my words week after week. As Mike said, another brilliant. Mike said solid. I'm saying brilliant day. Almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can't forget about JTT out there. Yes, I gave him that extra T for the fun of it. 94 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not probably, he is the best running back in the league this season. Alec Pierce, a nice day, getting a chance to step up towards that number one, kind of forgotten on the air. But yeah, the Colts won, but the story is Justin Herbert here. Mike already gave the stats. We don't have to repeat it. When your quarterback not only is leading in 2 categories, but is basically carrying this team on your back, How are you not fulfilling around them? Yes, I understand injuries have played. You lost Marion Hampton to the injury last week, which was, really harsh. Justin Herbert should have as many rings as Patrick Mahomes.
Justin Herbert should have as many Super Bowl appearances as Joe Burrow, but he has the same amount of both as you and me. Look, I don't put this all on Herbert. The Chargers have
No.
problems. Their offensive line is a problem.
Yo.
Their defense right now is a liability. But man, Jim Harbaugh, you got to figure this one out. Because let me be brutally honest with you. I said you've lost 3 out of your last 4. If the Miami Dolphins weren't an awful football team, you would have lost 4 in a row.
You know, uh, Herbert kind of reminds me of Dan Marino a little bit, of being able to find anyone anywhere on the field and at least putting the ball with a 80% better probability rate of catching it, even if he's on the run. I mean, when was the last time you saw a tight end put up 150 yards in receiving? Been a long time in my eyes. Justin Herbert makes everybody better, but he needs, like Mike said, needs to be protected more.
And look, they have 3 receivers. Keenan Allen's back. Quentin Johnston's had a really good year, and Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson quickly proving everybody wrong from last year,
And
which is
he
great.
really bounced back. It's time for the Chargers to figure something out. We're reaching the territory when it comes to Herbert. It's now or never.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right.
You know, I put him in the same categories I put Trevor Lawrence in. Yeah, you could look great on film, and you could look great when you make a play. But when the game is on the line, what do you got? When the chips are down, Justin Herbert has to win a playoff game this year. Right now, who even knows if the Chargers make the playoffs the way they're playing? All right. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars played in their second home on Sunday in London, and they got beaten down by the Rams 35-7. Matthew Stafford threw for 5 touchdowns, 2 of which went to Davante Adams. So, Mark, without Puka Nacua, it was no problem for the Rams offense.
First of all, there was not really much of a bright side for the Jacksonville Jaguars, except for, we'll give hats off to Travis Hunter getting his first NFL touchdown. And, he did have 8 receptions for 100 yards. Let's not take that away. This was all LA from the word God Save the Queen, as this was in London. And it didn't have to be a monstrous number either. And here's where Mike is going to probably either agree with me or go a different way after I'm done. I don't care that you're playing overseas. At least make the playing surface the same as it is by NFL regulation.
Mm-hmm.
I blame the fact that footing for every receiver, even on the Rams side, was horrible. You could not get anything going, especially for a Jaguars team that is reliant on so much. Couldn't get anything moving. Trevor Lawrence, had almost 300 yards and a touchdown. ETN couldn't get going, and I blame it on the field conditions. However, it wasn't like they were playing an 0-6 team here. We're talking about the LA Rams, whose defense is tops in the league. But still, the playing conditions at Wembley Stadium were atrocious.
If you're going to keep playing these games, you're right. They have to do something about the surface. Do I think that's the reason why the Jags lost? No. I just don't think the Jags are what people think they are. They can beat up on some bad teams, and they'll have moments. But the last 2 weeks, they've gone up against good defenses, and the Seahawks and the Rams. They've put up 19 points. And it's just not good enough. They're not at that place where they think they are. And unfortunately, that's not going to look good for Trevor Lawrence or maybe even Travis Etienne. But it's a new coach and a new GM who are going to make those decisions right now.
Is Trevor Lawrence going to fall? Not is going to, has fallen into the same hole as Justin Herbert.
I'll say this because I think it's a little bit different. Herbert's roster is better. I don't think anyone will deny how good the Charger roster is. Herbert has to win a playoff game. Trevor Lawrence just has to look better than he did a year ago. And he's had moments where he's looked really good, and he's had moments where he hasn't. But Trevor Lawrence is also on his third coach. And at some point, you've committed a lot of money to both of them. I think the Chargers are more committed to Herbert just based on the fact of it's a new GM and coach in Jacksonville. So I don't know where the Jags go from here. But if they continue to struggle, who knows what happens with Trevor Lawrence? As both teams are going to be on the bye week after their trip to London.
I mean, let's hope, the people in Germany and the people in Spain are listening to us right now and make sure those playing surfaces are a lot better than what they were in London.
We can
As the next two games, I believe, are Germany and then Spain.
Yeah, in Germany, it'll be the Colts and the Falcons, and Madrid will have the Dolphins and the Commanders. So, my apologies to the people in Madrid. You know what? Let's get it out.
I was about to say, speaking of the
Speaking
team
of
that
which,
could actually swim their way there,
Dolphins got crushed by the Cleveland Browns 31-6. Quinshon Judkins had 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards rushing. The Dolphins' offense sucked as Tua threw 3 more interceptions.
Tua turned the ball over.
And let's be honest, people should put a grenade inside the Miami Dolphins facility and just blow this thing up. I was going to save this for Wishbone, and I'll probably still be as ticked off as I am right now, but I'll say it anyway. I don't know what Stephen Ross is waiting for, but Mike McDaniel should not be let back into the facility. Tua should not be let back into the facility. Anthony Weaver should not be let back into the facility. The only people who should be let into the facility are some of the young guys, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, and anybody else who gives a damn, because this team is completely quit. They don't want to tackle anybody defensively and offensively. They look god awful.
Consider, I'm not going to pour salt into a bad open wound. We've talked about the trade deadline, and mind you, it's 2 weeks away. And Mike, you and I were talking on Sunday about some players here and there that we could think about. And you brought up a name. I don't know what's left on his contract, so I can't speak, but you'll know. Bradley Chubb could be coming up in a lot of conversations. I just don't know what's left, so I couldn't say what could be offered. That's the only reason why I'm putting it like this. Bradley Chubb, if anybody on the Dolphins roster, they're not going to trade A-Chain. They're not going to trade Jalen Waddle. Those guys will be there for a while. But Bradley Chubb is somebody that you could possibly get decent compensation for at this point. If there's anybody who's still playing and playing at a higher level, it's him.
So Chubb is signed through 2028.
So you got 3 years.
You
You'd
got
be looking at
this
least
year and
at a
then two
second
more.
round pick. At least a second and maybe a third round pick to be offered.
Yeah, listen, I would trade Bradley Chubb in a heartbeat. Not because I think Bradley Chubb's a bad player, but because this
Right.
is the time now for the Miami Dolphins to say, you know what, this hasn't worked. Blow this thing up. So Bradley
And
Chubb, yeah.
yeah, I mean the loss of Tyreek Hill, doesn't help anything either, and that was a gruesome injury. And my opinion, and Mike, you knew where I stood by this 2 years ago, is Tua should never have been back on a field, in my opinion. I think he should have been forced to retire after the guy couldn't recall his name for 2 weeks. So, I mean, that's my thought on it. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Look, here's my thing on Tua. The concussions are scary. I thought he should have retired too, but he's regressed. And it's gotten to the point now where I don't care about the cap hits over the next couple of years. Cut him. There is nothing that makes me want to hold on and believe in this thing. He's sailing throws. He's overthrowing screen passes. And then at the podium, he's kind of, I don't want to sound like I'm taking a shot here, but he's kind of like Cam Newton in a sense of, well, when we win, it's a good thing. When we're down and out, it's not sulky, but he throws a lot of people under the bus, and that's not good for this locker room.
I think you compared him to the perfect person, and not because he dresses bad. I mean, forget about that. He is now playing like Cam Newton did towards the end.
Yeah.
He is not able to function on an NFL level anymore. And neither could Newton. That's why he was done.
And look, here's the thing. This team was supposed to take a step forward every year. Step forward, step forward. The first 2 years under Mike McDaniel, they were a playoff team. And they were a fun offense. They were creative. They were this, they were that. When defenses adjusted, Mike McDaniel never adjusted. That's the problem. And so they need to go out there, and I don't care who the coach is the rest of the season, because you're not going anywhere this year. But you got to find me a coach and an experienced head coach who will have his say in quarterback, and we go from there. Now, to your point on Tyreek Hill, I'll be honest with you. I would have moved on from Tyreek Hill before the season just based on what happened after the last season. And that week 18 game against the Jets when you still had a chance and you wanted to sit your ass out. I'm sorry, it's inexcusable. And a guy like that shouldn't have been welcomed back into the room. When you allow that kind of behavior, people are going to walk all over you. And that's what's going on. And it's unfortunate. But you know what? To quote the great Bob Dylan, they need for time to be a changing. It's time for some changes. Speaking of rebuilding teams in the AFC East, oh yeah, the Patriots are good again. They beat the Titans 31-13. Drake May has been unreal.
Drake May has been nothing short of awesome.
He's been great, and it's not even May, it's October.
But I'm going to say this, it's the Titans. Another the one thing though, the Titans do have a win where the Jets don't. So let's put it that way.
And by the way, the Titans fans, the guy who should be coaching you was on the other sideline.
Yeah. Um, this was a more, big defensive win, and then the offense just took it from wherever they had it. Great day by Ramondre Stevenson with 88 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 7 receptions. Chassion had 2 sacks. But I want to point out the fact again, the numbers on Drake May. I know Mike already said it. I want to say it again. 21 of 23, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know that's not 100%. That's perfect in the NFL. Yeah, it's the Titans. Yeah, they don't have the best defense in the world, but I'm sorry. That's perfect. And that's something that needs to be recognized.
Highest completion percentage in a single game in Patriot history.
Yeah. That's just something that needs to be called out and recognized that he had a spectacular game.
Beat Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Bears beat the Saints 26-14. Bears have won 4 in a row. Caleb Williams finally looking like the guy they thought they took at number 1 overall.
He's starting to transform a little bit. You can see each week he's getting a little bit better about his decision making, but you got to give the hats off to DeAndre Swift, who had a really, really good
Swift's been
game.
really good.
He's been making it easier on instead of the normal 3rd and long they're looking at. DeAndre Swift has been averaging almost 5 yards a carry, so 3rd and 5 is a lot better than 3rd and 8.
Yeah, the Bears will play the Ravens while the New Orleans Saints will host the Bucks.
And
We did
poor
not talk
Rattler got
Eagles.
rattled.
We didn't talk Eagles Vikings, but the Eagles get a big win over the Vikings. And
What a good game too.
welcome back AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
And welcome back Jalen Hurts too, as well. This Vikings defense has been good all season. And this was actually I thought it was going to be as competitive a game, but I didn't think it was going to be as high a scoring. I thought it was going to be much low scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And Carson Wentz gave us that Carson Wentz look from the beginning of the game, but you got to give the Vikings credit for trying to fight back. But Jalen Hurts, 19 to 23, 326, and 3 touchdowns. And Mike said it. Welcome back, A.J. Brown, with 2 touchdowns on the day. But what the hell is wrong with Saquon Barkley?
Again, I don't know if there's anything wrong with them. I just think it's the way this team is calling plays right now. It's little at a time. Like AJ and Devontae get theirs. Maybe it'll be Saquon this week, but they got to figure it out because the rest of the NFC is really good. And for Minnesota, I'm not concerned. I'm concerned about JJ McCarthy. Can this guy play?
See, here the question being the Minnesota Vikings fall to 3-3 now. Still in the thick of it in the NFC North, as there is no loser in that division right now. Minnesota can't be a 500 team if they expect to try to make a run at the playoffs. So they got to do something at quarterback, and I'm telling you, Carson Wentz is not the answer.
Well, here's my question. McCarthy sprained his ankle, and they kind of said it's week to week, and then it was after the bye week, and now it's this. And last year he got the pass because of a torn ACL. How bad is his ankle that he can't play? Are you being too cautious with him, or are we at the point now where it's like he's not grasping this thing? Because I think these are fair questions to ask of the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to see him play. I want to know, is the guy you let Sam Darnold leave, can that kid play or not?
Right.
That we need to figure that out. So, uh, and I think the last game that we didn't talk about was the Packers beating the Cardinals 27-23.
Who cares about the Patchies?
Who? Listen, I had high hopes for the Cardinals, but they keep letting me down.
Well, here's a nice game to end it off on a nice coverage podcast. Jacoby Brissett came out like he does as a backup quarterback. He's never been a real true starter in the NFL. He played a great game, though 25-36, 2 touchdowns. But again, not Brandon Jacobs, sorry, Josh Jacobs before the game was said to was going to be out with the knee and the ankle, but came in and wasn't given a lot of touches, but with the 13 touches he did get, turned them into 2 touchdowns, and that was the difference in this game. Jordan Love really, 19 to 29 under 200 and a touchdown was not the deciding factor.
They need Jordan Love to be really good if they're
Yes.
going to get to where they want to get to. But someone who they also need was really good. Micah Parsons' first career 3-sack game. Now we can put a little bit of asterisk because it's Jacoby Brissett, but
Well, no, I mean it was Jacoby Brissett, but it's the same Arizona line.
yeah,
It's not like he was paired up against Jared from Subway at all or something like that. He got around no matter where he was moved. And that's something that goes back to giving credit to Dan Quinn for making him that versatile, whether he's on the line or he's in the linebacker core. He's that good that he can get around anywhere. And yeah, I still love Micah Parsons. I have no doubt in my mind he'll win Defensive Player of the Year.
my one question on Arizona is this: they're now, I believe, 2-5 or
Yep,
2-4 because they may have had the bye.
2-5.
Where are we on the fact of Kyler Murray? Because I think Kyler Murray's in the same category as Lawrence in this fact of hasn't won a playoff game, and we think he's a franchise quarterback. Is it time for Arizona to maybe think about moving off of Kyler and restacking a quarterback?
It's not a bad question. I mean, the off-field stuff when he was injured didn't help his character, and it's not like he did anything that threw him in jail or anything. No, he played a video game. That was he was more prepared to know
He's playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, which squad and command he had to do rather than learning his playbook. Kyler Murray, like we talked about, you compared him to, Travis Lawrence, which is accurate. How long are quarterbacks like these guys who are given these $50 million extensions? And I beg to question the $60 million extension to Dak, and he's playing great. If a quarterback has him taking you to the big game, come on. You're handing out money that could be better used on two lower ended players than one high end.
Yeah.
So I mean, Kyler only has what 3 years left on that contract too.
Let me see.
Um, and if they, Arizona sits 2-5, it's not
I'm not
out.
saying
It's a
for the
tough
trade
climb.
deadline, but maybe in the off season.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be talking in a world where that is extremely possible because if he has 1 to 2 years left, I think a lot of teams wouldn't mind having him.
So Kyler, he'll make 22 million next year, 19 the year after, and then there's a club option for 2020.
Okay, so he has 2 years left, and if you take the two numbers, you average them together, it's about 21 million a year. That is fine if you want to pick him up on a 2 year deal, meaning trade for him and get 2 years. And instead of that $50 million number, now it's going to come down. So I think he would fare better on a couple of teams. I think you could put him somewhere, even with your fishtails, and he would do better.
I also think it's going to depend on who the coach would be, but
Well,
you're
that would also have a big part of it too. Yes.
I, actually one spot I was thinking of as we were talking about it, we brought up the Raiders before.
Well, the Raiders are just like the Saints, the Dolphins. Brock Bowers, who was the focus of this offense, is gone. It has been gone due to that knee issue and back issue. And now they also just lost Max Crosby to a knee and back issue. The Raiders are falling into that spot of who do we need to get rid of and how do we do it? No Brock Bowers, that team functions a lot differently.
No Brock Bowers means no Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby.
That'll be the final one here. Thanks everyone for listening to the Week 7 edition of the NFL Recap Show here on the Sports Insanity Network. Reminder, catch us live Sunday morning, Sunday Sideline Report. Also Thursday Night Gridiron. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Follow us on the socials. Twitter, S70 Real, Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network. Mark's doing some one-of-ones that'll be coming out soon.
Yeah,
So,
we have a couple wrestling one-on-ones we're dropping. We have some two big drops coming from RBI breaks and hat trick breaks. So those will be recording tonight.
so keep a lookout for all of that. Again, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. We'll see you all Sunday morning. Remember Thursday Night Gridiron with Bill and whoever else.
Dan.
Oh, Bill and Dan.
Bill and Dan.
Bill and Dan, who will also be doing SIP probably on Friday. So keep a lookout for that. Thanks for taking a listen, everybody.